My name is Ronnie Benham. I served in the U.S. Army from 1961 until 1964. I attained the rank of Specialist 5th Class, which is equivalent to a sergeant, except it's a specialized branch. And I actually joined the Army when I was in high school. They went ahead and let me graduate, and then they called me up down to Fort Bliss, El Paso, and where I caught a train to Fort Hood. Typical Army fashion, they sent me to Dallas first and then back to Fort Hood. And then I was in basic training all summer long from June until September. And then because I had volunteered, I was able to go to a school of my choice there at Fort Hood, and I went to mechanic school for 3 months, and we learned how to work on everything from tanks to tracked vehicles, personnel carriers, trucks, jeeps, so forth. And then I was assigned to the 51st Armored Infantry Division, or excuse me, battalion. And that was part of the 2nd Armored Division, which was made famous by General Patton during World War II.
Hi, I'm Renee McLean, and I'm in the Air Force. I've been in the Air Force for 8 years now, and I joined because I have always had the calling that I should be in the service. I didn't know what branch or anything, but then when I met my husband, I was compelled to join in 2010 for a lot of reasons. Just I wanted to finally do it. I wanted to get back in the workforce because I had been home with my kids for 5 years, and just the benefits that it offers and so on.
I'm Scott McLean, and I joined the Air Force in 1991. I actually joined the Air Force May 17, 1971 as an Air Force brat because my dad was in, but I enlisted in 91, January of 91. So I'm going on, I had a short break in service. I'm going on 22 years now total, just over. Started out as a ejection seat mechanic, and after 22 years now I'm the Quality Assurance Superintendent out with the 301st at Carswell.
My name is Chet Davidson, and I was in the Army, in the Armored Division, or Battalion, and I served 37 months during the war. And then I was signed up for 3 years for a reserve, but lucky that was just signed up with no service.
The whole division was armored in that they had tanks and the personnel carriers that would hold 12 men. And as a headquarters company mechanic, I was required to maintain all these vehicles. And of course, this was during what was called the Cold War, and this was not a war fought in the wintertime. It was actually a war that was never fought, and we were prepared, but everything going on in the world was, you can't imagine it on today's terms. You have to look back, this was 57 years ago. There were no cell phones, there were no personal computers, there was no World Wide Web, there was all of these modern things that we now have didn't exist then.
Yeah, and your first deployment when we were married was in 2000?
2007.
7, yeah.
Right when we got here, actually, we had just been here a few short months. My unit in Arizona had closed, and we had limited choices of where to go, but Fort Worth is the one that jumped first and foremost in our minds. So we moved out here. We put our house on the market. We moved out here with all the kids, 2 guinea pigs, a dog, and pulling our 28-foot travel trailer. And while our house was on the market in Phoenix getting sold, the whole McLean clan resided in that 28-foot travel trailer in Springtown, Texas for, I think, about 4 months before I deployed to Iraq for the first time.
Camp Walters and Mineral Wells was where we went if you were drafted, you know. And there you went through some tests and got your sworn in, got your arm. Then you didn't go by the Social Security. You went by your. They gave you a number, you know, and so they get you ready and to ship out. So we was there probably a week, and they put us on a train, and we went to Camp Campbell, Kentucky.
When she joined the Air Force and went off to basic training, I was a train wreck. You know, I'm now the roles reversed, so to speak. You know, I'm worried about her as she's going through the basic training experience, and now I'm Mr. Mom at home and getting the kids to and from school, and I really got to understand and truly appreciate how difficult everything is back home for the parent that's back home trying to take care of all the kids, you know, take care of the animals, take care of the house, make sure everything's going smooth, and be that provider for them, and take that time to show them that love, and still worried sick about what she's experiencing, because I know it's basic training, and that's a tough
Well,
gig.
that was just tough that we couldn't even talk to each other. I would only be allowed to call home once a week, and if they allowed us to call home once a week, if we didn't get in trouble that week. And so, you know, and my level of responsibility grew in my basic training flight, so it kept me up long hours, making sure everything was good, and I didn't sleep much. But, you know, it was definitely one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Every place I ever worked, though, I had to clean it up. In the military, they taught us how to clean things. Run a buffer. The first time I cranked the buffer up, I knocked down a whole series of wall lockers, and I had to spend the day repairing them. But I learned, and every place I cleaned, so I was working as a salesman in an office supply store, and I started a janitor business because I saw a janitor's paycheck one time, and I thought, man, he gets that for cleaning, and I knew how little he cleaned, and I thought I can do better than that. So I started working as a janitor, and the first 4 places I called on hired me.
It's always good to be back in the States, you know, and before, of course, there was the war to be over, you know, and and yeah, we were pretty sure, because they even talked about sending us straight to Japan, which a lot of the service personnel did, but for some reason they just chose to send us back to the States, and so we landed at Boston, and caught a train to San Antonio, and got a 30-day leave, and when we followed home, the war with Japan was over.
To understand and appreciate God, family, and country more, because it's getting lost in the translation of things these days. We're already seeing it in the younger troops that come in. The focus, the dedication, and the love of country. If you're going to join the Air Force or any branch of service, you know, get into it for the right reasons. one of them, and what I often tell young people and even my own children, if you're going to join the service, I hope you have patriotism.
You see so much in this day and age. There's everybody is fighting about something inside of our own country. I tell you step outside the borders of this country that we love to protect, being members of the military, and you can see what hardships are. You can see what all of these other countries are going through. You can, in the Middle East, you can see the absolute lack of spirituality. There is no love of country like you have in the United States of America.
But I've learned patience, I guess. And so I try to be very patient with people. I try not to take offense at a lot of minor things that are just of no importance, you know, in the long run. I see people getting upset over minor offenses, you might say. And the Bible teaches that we're to forgive, and yet I see so much unforgiveness going on that people are so easily offended anymore that it's sad that they can't forgive and just go on, you know.
But I suggest and to pray, and to just pray that the Lord His Spirit will lead us. That's the main thing, be led by the Spirit, and for the Lord, and for the Spirit just to direct us and keep us and draw us, and if we do that, the Lord He's going to hear our prayers.